Hello guys and girls, I'm Kentucky from Looking for Guides. Let's take a look this time at the Fury Warrior in the Battle for Azeroth beta server. This spec is just didn't receive any major changes yet, but there are some very important changes to this spec. First off, take a look on the spells. We receive Battle Shout, which is our buff. Is a 60 minute attack power increase. There are pretty much of spells that haven't changed, for example Berserker Rage and Rage Regeneration, Heroic Throw, Intimidating Shot, Piercing Howl, Pummel and so on. Now I will only note you where there is some changes. The healing on Bloodthirst is increased. Execute now generates rage instead of costing it. Moving on, Raging Blow. It is now generates more rage. Its baseline have 2 charges, and it has a 20% chance to instantly reset its own cooldown, which is a very important thing. So this way you can chain cast several Raging Blows if you are lucky. Rallying Cry is just a renamed Commanding Shout. Rampage is also reworked. It is now not a 2-second, over 2-second ability. It is now an instant ability. Recklessness is just Battle Cry. It's just renamed because of Recklessness sounds more cool than Battle Cry. Victory Rush is a new ability in this character. We've got Whirlwind, which is the exact same as it was before, but now Enrage and Mastery is slightly changed. Mastery procs way more damage, and Enrage now procs haste and movement speed also, while Rampage will also at 100% chance will enrage you. Moving on, let's take a look on the talents. I tried this talent setup and I found these the best. War Machine, Endless Rage and Fresh Meat are the first tier. It is like about rage generation. Generally, I think Fresh Meat, the increased chance to trigger Enrage with Bloodthirst gives you much more Enrage uptime on Rampage, which increases your damage the most. But if you're struggling with generating enough rage, then you should choose War Machine. Endless Rage is like never a good ability, never competitive, so to say. The next tier is Movement Speed and Impending Victory tier, which is like if there is something you can stun, then you will use Stormbolt. Impending Victory is just useless, and Double Time is for charge 2 times. It's totally situational. Either Stormbolt or Double Time will be the default option depending on the encounter type. The third tier is Inner Rage, Sudden Death and Furious Slash, which we lost in the transition from Legion to BfA. Now, Furious Slash is a useless spell. I mean, we won't use it ever because there is too many buttons for Fury, and there is not enough global cooldown to use it. Sudden Death is just, for me, for my playstyle, is the perfect stuff because it procs Execute above 20% health as well, and it generates you much more rage, and then you can use much more rampages and so on and so on. Inner Rage is just a flat increase to Raging Blows damage and reduction in cooldown. I think it will be competitive with Sudden Death, even could be better, mainly when you reach high levels of Mastery, since Rampage always procs the your mastery, the Enrage, and then after you can hit a very large Raging Blow hit with it. Then the 60th tier is Furious Charge, Bounding Strike, and Warpaint. Warpaint is just the 10% reduced damage taken while you're enraged. It is just a defensive ability. Furious Charge is only the... After the charge, your next blood thrust will heal you for an additional 250%, which is sounds good, but it is not so helpful. And Bounding Strike is, of course, the good old movement increase after Heroic Leap, which is always useful in situations. 75 row is Carnage, Massacre, and Flooding Berserker. I get used to playing with Flooding Berserker, that's why I chose it, but Carnage can be as competitive as Flooding Berserker, as in terms of DPS. Massacre is... Massacre will mainly be used on fights that there are a very lot of ads, where you can high HP ads, where you can generate a lot of rage with executes and spend a lot of rage on rampages, because most targets are usually a lot below 35% health. The 90 tier is just Meat Cleaver, Dragon Roar, and Bladestorm. It is a AoE tier. Bladestorm is not as good as on arms. It feels like it is very good, but when you play it, it is not so good. I chose Dragon Roar because of the movement slow and the 35-second cooldown, which is a rather short cooldown. You can use it on almost every recklessness window, and it deals about the same damage as Bladestorm. So on Mythic Plus it will be a valuable tool. Meat Cleaver is a flat increase to your Vervine damage and rage generation, which will be very helpful in sustained AoE situations, but I don't see those situations very frequent in Battle for Azeroth, so I do not recommend taking this talent. Dragon Roar might be way better. On the 100 tier, it is, I think, all about anger management or Siegebreaker. Siegebreaker is just a debuff to your target, which is a rather huge debuff. It increases your rage as well, and it is all about lucky. If you're lucky, activate Siegebreaker, then you get Enrage from Bloodthirst, and you manage to hit a very huge rampage on the enraged debuffed target. But anger management gives you more frequent access to your main DPS cooldown recklessness. It could be reduced, as I counted, to 1.2 or 1.1 minutes, which is a huge thing, but it is also possible that with higher gear it could be reduced to even 1 minute. And this is why if you manage to reduce about 1.1 or 1.2, then recklessness will always line up with a 35-second cooldown of Dragon Roar, so you can always use them in pairs. And then there is Reckless Abandon, which makes your recklessness generate 100 rage. It's not that good, I think. It is useful for a short burst, but on a 1.5 minute cooldown, a very short burst is not that useful. So let's see how it plays. You just put up your buff, charge there, smash it in the face, generate some rage, hit that rampage, then use as many raging blows as possible within the enrage window, and with execute procs you generate even more rage, and then again enrage, raging blow. Generally after your rampage you will aim to always cast a raging blow or an execute. because of the enraged damage buff, which is 100% chance. So this is the playstyle. I don't think it is any challenging to anyone. You can also use defensive CDs and stuff, but it is rather a spank hack and slash style of play. As you can see, your melee is the highest amount of your damage because of haste, scaling, then rampage, bloodthirst and raging blow. If you are lucky and you're playing it well, then raging blow is higher than bloodthirst because of the enrage uptime and stuffs. Execute is a rather slow or low damage in your rotation, but that is just because then there is no execute phase on the target dummy, so it is always at 100% and only sudden death procs are used, which is really good because, as you see, I hit 6 executes during this about 45 seconds. So, thank you for watching, guys. This is the Fury Warrior. I will come up later with another video which is about paladins. Goodbye and have fun!